Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video we are going to talk about that client script. So we discussed about the UI policy. Using the UI policy we are able to make this field configuration item is mandatory whenever the state is in progress. Now in our today's session we'll talk about that client script, and definitely in the client script we are going to write some more code to help you to know that how we can write the script into a client script and what are the things we can do into the client script. So let's go back to the left navigation and search for the client script. Type the client script, and under this system definition you will be able to see the module called client script, and all these client scripts are available. The main component of the client script is the name, state, active or not, and then you have a table. So where you can define that for which table this client script will be run. So we are going to create a new client script. Before that, if I search with that table name is incident, you will be able to see that there are quite number of client scripts are already available into this system, but we are going to create a new client script, one new client script. Let's say I'm going to click the new button. So once you click the new button, you will be able to see this is the new form for the client script. Here we'll put the name, we'll put the table, then we have a UI type, and then we have a type. So these are the very important factor we are going to discuss. Let's say that table name called incident mandatory, and then here we are going to put the table name. So we'll select for the timing incident table. So we'll select that incident table. Okay, and then under this UI type you will be able to see the desktop, mobile or service portal, and then all. So if you want to run this client script only for the native view, like here you can use the desktop. If you want to run this client script onto the service portal, you can select the service portal, or else you can select, if you want to run the client script both the environment, you can define that all. So we'll select or we'll put as it is, and then here we have a type. So type is a very important factor. So we have a on sell edit, on change edit, on load edit, and on submit edit. So what we'll talk first the on load and on change. So what is the on load? So whenever your form will be loaded first time, that time if you want to run any client script, you can select for on load. If you want to run any script which is depending on any field changes, let's say that you selected that on change, it means that whenever any field value changes, like service offering, any or state or priority, any field value changes, if you want to run this any field mandatory, at that moment you can go for the on change client script. So let's see, for the timing we are going to select the on load. So once you select on load, you can see that in the script section by default it's populated with function, then the function name is on load, and in the bracket it is coming a box where we can write on load. Now you have an option called global. If you uncheck that, you can run this client script for a specific view. So we know that what is view. So for incident we have this many view, right? So if you want to run this client script for specific view, you can define that. Otherwise you can select the global so that it can run for all this view. So we are not doing anything at the moment. We just said that incident mandatory, select the table name, type equal to desktop, select the type equal to onload, and then here we are just putting a alert message called hi to see that our client script is working or not. So we select the hi and save that. Once we save that, what will be happen if your form is loaded or incident form is loaded? Let's say I'll go back to this incident list, and then I'll open this incident form. Once your form will be loaded, our client script is run and showing a pop-up called hi. So you know the onload client script run whenever your form is getting loaded. Now let's understand deeply or in a further process. So our requirement was last time that if the incident state is in progress, we want to make this configuration item mandatory. Now let's say that whenever our incident state is on hold, we don't want this configuration item mandatory, so which is working perfectly fine, but we need to be create, or we want to make service field is a mandatory. So let's understand one more time. So whenever our state is in progress, we want to make this configuration item mandatory, which is working fine. But whenever the state will be in on hold, we want this service field should be mandatory. Now here is the question. The question is that we can achieve this scenario by another set of UI policy. But for complex scenario, let's say that you have 4-5 state or different condition, you want to make certain field mandatory, visible, and these things. Do you want to create separate UI policy? You don't need to create the separate UI policy. You can do, or you can achieve these things by a single client script. So let's see how we can achieve that. So first, we are going to deactivate the UI policy that we have created. So I'll go back to this UI policy, and then I will open these UI policy sections, and then this UI policy we have created called CI mandatory, I will deactivate that UI policy. Simply, I am going to deactivate this UI policy, uncheck that, and save that. So this UI policy is deactivated now. Here in this incident form, you can see I'm in the in progress state, but configuration item is not mandatory. So let's achieve that, or let's fulfill this requirement. So as we know that in the client script run, whenever your form is loaded, so what we are going to do that we are going to declare a variable. We know how to declare the variable. We are declaring that where, let's say, is equal to, we are going to use the g_form method. So g_form. So this method or this API we already used in our earlier video where we use that. So we are going to use the g_form.getValue. So we'll set that get value, and then what value we are trying to achieve, or we are trying to fetch the state. So what will be happen? We are going to fetch the state, and depending on the state, we are going to take the action. So what action we are going to take? That if the state equal to, or if the state is 2, we are going to make this configuration item is mandatory. So we put that if is equal to 2, we are going to make some field mandatory. Which field we want to make mandatory? We want to make this configuration item or CMDB CI. This field we want to make mandatory. So we'll do that. So here we'll again use that g_form dot set mandatory. We have one method called set mandatory. Earlier we used the get value. This is the new method we are using, set mandatory. The mandatory set mandatory function or method needs two parameters. First is the field name, second is the boolean value that will tell you that it's a mandatory or not. So we'll say that CMDB_CI, this field should be mandatory. We will define that and simply save that. So what will be happen? We are saying that if the state is in progress, CMDB CI should be mandatory. So let's save that and refresh our form, incident form. So right now we are in progress state, and it should be mandatory, and you can see that configuration item is mandatory, and it's showing that asterisk sign. So you can see it's showing the asterisk sign called CMDB CI is a mandatory field. Now what is the next requirement? Next requirement is that if incident state changes and it's in that on hold, we want this service field mandatory, and we don't want configuration item is anymore mandatory. So this is the requirement. So we'll put that else if what we want is equal to what we want in which state. If the state is on hold, which value is 3. So if the state is 3, what we want this field mandatory. Which field mandatory? So we'll put the g_form method again dot set mandatory. Which field we want to make mandatory? So we want to make this business service mandatory. So we'll select that business service is mandatory. We'll simply select that and set true. Okay, so let's format this code and simply save that. So let's refresh this incident form. So I'm going to refresh that form. As you can see, after refresh that, if the state is in progress, our configuration item getting mandatory, let's change to on hold and select this other field and then simply save that. And we have to put some work notes and simply save that. After saving that, you can see that service field is getting mandatory and then configuration item is not anymore mandatory. So this way we can depending on the condition we can define that.